This is Continuum Drag, a weekly podcast revisiting television sci-fi, fantasy, and everything in between. This week, Other Space, episodes 5 and 6.
Look, you know, as far as those humans are concerned, robots are only good for three things. Cheap labor, remote bombings, and off the beaten path sex stuff.
But not all humans think that way. I mean, sure, when I was a pleasure concierge, they didn't treat me very well. I had to blow on dice and dance for townies. But these people are our friends.
I say enslave them, strip them nude, and then just see where we're at.
Welcome to Continuum Drag, the podcast that welcomes our new robot overlords. I'm Luke, here with my co-host Jordan. What's real, Jordan?
Courtney's here.
That's right. That's a true stat.
As prepared as ever, we're joined by our returning guest, Courtenay. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. It's been a while.
When were you here last?
Oh, my God. Before COVID. So
I
4
always,
years ago? I don't know.
No, I always assume it's Harsh Realm because you were on Harsh Realm when we just talked about that skating movie. Cutting Edge, what was it called?
It wasn't Cutting Edge.
Cutting
That's
Edge,
very
yeah,
good memory. I think that was the first episode, though, so I've been on a couple times since then.
Hard to remember.
I wouldn't have been able, if you had given me $1 million, I wouldn't have been able to tell you what that show was called, though.
Let's talk about Cutting Edge, though.
I'm over it.
Are you over it?
Yeah.
Really?
D.B. Sweeney doesn't do it for me anymore.
What about Christian Slater?
Christian Slater, always.
Yeah.
Always. I just saw him in something. I can't remember what, though. It was very good. It was after Bad Robot.
No, Bad Robot. Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot.
Yeah.
Bad Robot's a production company. It's fine. We digress. As we do.
All right. Do you guys want to play a little game? I have a game for us this
Right off
week.
the top of the hat. God. My words are not good. I haven't talked to people really in a long time, I guess.
Her words are not good.
But yes, let's try the game.
Right off the bat. I have nothing else to ask you.
I really enjoy when these are slobby like this, you know?
My notes were, when was Courtney here last? She says, I don't know. All right, well, let's move on. All right, well, here's the game. It's called Echo, and it's a lot like an EGOT.
Okay.
Do you know what an EGOT is?
Yeah.
So it's what? Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony.
Yeah,
That
that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
Also, does a Tony deserve to be in there with the rest of them? Not my opinion.
I mean, I just watched West Side Story yesterday,
Yeah.
so I would say yes.
Did you like it?
It's a beautiful movie. I don't
A lot
love
of finger
musicals.
snapping still? Do they still finger snapping?
They do. It starts off the movie.
This is just the real difference between Jordan and Courtney. She watches the West Side Story. He's going to see the Batman. Those are the big difference between those
Did you
two
see it?
people.
Okay, we'll talk about that offside because we wanna go see that too.
Anyway, well, can you guys guess what an echo is based on the EGOT prelude?
Echo.
Emmy.
Mm-hmm.
Grammy.
Well, there's no G in echo.
So it's a C.
We've done this.
One's a
game
Hugo.
before.
One's a Hugo, right?
We've done this game before. So Jordan
Comedy
might
award? I don't know.
any Canadian award.
Oh, that's right.
any
And then Hugo.
Hugo.
And then O
That's science
is.
fiction.
You had the same
Oscar?
trouble with EGOT for some reason. I don't know why.
Oscar?
Yes, Oscar.
Oh, jeez.
So any Canadian award.
That is
Yeah,
also
it's
what
the only
tripped you up
number.
in EGOT. I don't know why.
I don't know.
If you had to guess, how many Emmys would you say the people who worked on the show as writers-directors have won?
Is there do I have a range? Because I'd say a lot because I looked them up and one of the guys that directed my episode on the 6th episode did a lot of The Office. So there's got to be a lot in there.
I mean, that's what you're guessing. You're
My
guessing.
guess is this Price is Right
Emmys?
rules?
Sure, Price is Right rules, everybody.
That's close without going over. I'm gonna say 7. Lucky 7.
10.
10. Wah, 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 wah. Is that the sound
Yeah.
from?
Ba-bum, ba-bum. No, and then. Wah, wah.
It was 8. 8
What?
Emmys.
I was going to say 8, but then I thought that was a jerk move to just
That would have been perfect. What do they call that?
Price is
A
Right.
contestant's
Yeah.
corner or
It's
something?
Yeah. There's director Lucia Antilio has won 2, one for writing, one for directing, both for Hacks, the
Well, you know what?
2020
Oh,
TV
yeah.
series.
I will just say that I didn't realize you were talking about all of the directors on the show. I've
Yes,
only
yes,
seen 2
everyone.
episodes. Just kidding. I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to
Give
be
it to
difficult.
her. She wins.
All right, you win.
No.
I don't want to get canceled. You win.
I didn't look up all the other people. That's all.
No, fair enough. Director Robert Cohen has won a writing award for The Ben Stiller Show.
Cool.
Director
Oh wow, the Ben Stiller show.
Luke Matheny.
I have a whole story about him, so it's okay.
Do you want to do it now?
I don't know. It's up to you.
Yeah, go for it.
So I looked him up. Well, I saw his name or something.
Robert Cohen, the director?
No,
Or
I looked
Ben
up
Stiller?
Luke.
Oh, Luke
Because
Matheny?
I know him. I don't know him personally, but because of the Oscars, he did a short film called God of Love, and I bought it because I heard, like, I saw him win it, and he seemed really charming, and the clip was really
What
cute.
I love is that Courtney's fucking herself on the next category.
So I just okay, well, it's fine. I bought the short. I have it. I've watched it more recently, and then he did
Is it good?
Ghost Rider. Yeah, it's a great short. It's a really good short.
Well, and Ghost
he did
Rider is what he won his Emmy for.
Well, there you go.
Oh,
That's why I was excited that he was involved.
very cool.
But he didn't do my episode, so.
I do think there's a pretty high pedigree on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's writer Shelby Farrow. I might have written that down wrong. She has won an an Emmy for Robot Chicken.
Oh
Yeah, there's a lot of
okay.
comedy people involved, like animation comedy.
Animation people. And then finally, writer Karen Kilgariff has won 3 Emmys,
Whoa.
all for the Ellen DeGeneres Show.
Oh, I really used to enjoy the Ellen DeGeneres show. It
Was
was just called Ellen, though, wasn't it?
Are you talking about this, like the talk show or
The talk show.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm talking the sitcom.
I did
No,
like
no.
it
I
too.
believe the sitcom on IMDb is
What's
listed
called?
as Ellen, the Ellen DeGeneres Show. That's the name of the show.
Interesting.
All right. How many Canadian awards has writers and directors on this production won?
Well, the fact that it's included, there's got to be at least one. So
My guess is
You're 1?
3.
I'm gonna say 2.
0. You're both.
Oh, you tricked us! I was wondering because Luke's not Canadian. You are, but not that.
the director
other
that we
guy.
discussed. And then, of course, the Hugos. How many Hugos do you think this ensemble?
0. I think 0.
Can they even win for film? I thought it
Oh,
was
yeah.
only
Oh, yeah.
books. 1.
0. Jordan is right on this one. Sorry, you guys. That was
Nice.
0. It was nominated. Paul Fig is nominated for a Hugo for Ghostbusters Answer the Call. Did not win, though. And then finally, how many Oscars has this team won?
1.
I was gonna say 1. I'll say 2.
Well, it's 1.
That's good. You got it first. That's fine. What was it?
It was Luke
He
for
just-
his short
Oh
film.
yeah.
Finished telling us about it. She tipped her hand.
Come on, I'm a goldfish. I can't remember what happened 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, I have it on. I could probably show it to you guys on my phone later if you.
Oh,
want.
you have it a digital copy.
I
of it.
have it. I bought it on iTunes.
Nice. Well, that's a
Nice plug for
You know what?
iTunes.
You know what the first thing I ever bought on iTunes was though? Bridesmaids.
Oh, Paul
So
Feig.
there you
Jordan.
go.
Movie? Yeah.
There, it
It
all
all
comes
connects.
back. You're very connected to the other space.
Apparently, though and it's the kind of show that I recognize some people, but none of them really. The one guy that I forget his name.
Stuart,
No,
Michael.
Michael,
no. Well, he
Kent.
Kent I recognize the most,
Okay.
but I couldn't place him. I couldn't place anybody. I looked up their credits. I don't think I'm remembering them from the odd episode from one show X amount of time ago.
Right.
So it was really a weird cast for that reason.
they're all good jobbers. Like they're all like probably working a lot, but you're not going to recognize them.
But do you think
immediately.
that might be a problem with the show? They need more star power?
I mean,
I don't think that's the issue.
you missed the first 2 episodes where Dave Franco. was
Oh,
there.
that is another question I had because John was very upset that he was sold a false bill of goods when I told him Dave Franco was in the show because we literally just finished at the after party this morning.
Oh no, yes, he's murdered very early on.
Well, that's like the same as the after party.
I haven't seen the after party yet.
Spoilers for the after party.
It's literally
everyone.
in the first episode. It's fine.
Is that his thing now? Does he just die in the first episode of shows?
I don't know.
But like, can you advertise a show with the person in the trailer like that and then just kill them off the first episode?
Bruce Willis keeps getting put on every movie poster and movies he's in for about 30 seconds. So
You
I
do whatever
guess.
you
you
want.
do whatever you want.
Whatever gets butts in the chairs, right? I guess.
Yep,
All right.
that's your catchphrase.
Here we go, you guys. Let's get this started.
All right.
Thanks for playing Echo, by the way, everyone.
I was so sloppy. I love it.
You guys loved every second
Yeah.
of it.
It was interesting.
All right, here we go.
I was gonna say I learned stuff, but really I think I learned that Jordan doesn't listen. He's a good person.
You only
to play-
learned that?
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, here's
I'm
the
remembering.
IMDb summary for episode 5, Troubles Brewing.
Great title.
Kent, Art, and Natasha demand human privileges, but a coffee maker hijacks their robot revolution and takes over the ship. Meanwhile, time distortion turns Tina and Michael's half-day mission into a year-long ordeal on a barren planet.
Before we start, Luke, the idea of the different time on the planet with the ship, kind of interesting sci-fi concept. Did that suck you in? Did you like that? That seems like something up your wheelhouse. I know the show's not really is not your favorite, but did you like that concept of?
Yeah, I
science
mean, that's
fiction?
kind of the first thing I was going to talk about here. But yeah, there's this concept of like they go down to that planet because they have to get that fuel.
That's
that
been
they
the running.
lost. They lost 2 episodes ago, and now they're still trying to get it back.
Like, was it in barrels or like?
No, they just blew it out the back of the ship.
So it's like they're mining for it.
Yeah,
it's
so
not like
for some reason they have to.
Okay.
That planet recently formed around them.
Oh.
A lot. You missed a lot, Courtney. You missed a lot.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was gonna say I need to put it in my contract that I only do the first 2 episodes with you guys because it's really hard jumping in. That's
I'm sure this was too confusing to follow along with. But yes, they go down. The idea is like they've got to go down there because there's a new protocol in place. The captain can't go anymore. They send down, of course, Michael and Tina. Did you remember why that new protocol is in place?
Well, I know it's so that they don't lose the captain in the first command, but I don't remember if there was anything.
Somebody
anything else
teleported
specific.
into a rock.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Was that in the show?
Yeah.
Jordan loves this show.
Yeah. I'll say this.
No. This
Every
is
now
new
and then,
information.
every now and then they get a good one. You're like, that's all right. That was all right joke.
But yeah,
There's one I think very funny joke in this episode.
There's some pretty funny stuff in this episode.
There you go.
We'll say when we get to it. But yes, Tina and Michael wants to be transported down the planet, and it starts off a little rocky because we're for some reason I guess this episode learned that they don't like each other, kind of.
I think what they were trying to imply is less that they don't like each other, that they don't have anything in
Respect
common
each
and don't really know each other very well. They haven't bothered, so there's a bit of awkwardness because they're just unfamiliar with each other. Whether that tracks with the other episodes, I'm not really sure.
Can I ask a quick question?
Mhm.
Yeah.
How long have they been on a ship together?
Like 4 days.
4 days? This whole show's only been going on for 4 days by episode 5?
Something like that.
I would say it's about right.
Okay, well then that's fair.
Yeah.
It's reasonable.
They got in a ship. As soon as they left port, they were accidentally pulled into another dimension.
The other
and
space?
So, yeah,
The other
space. Thank you. I call it the other dimension. And so yeah, they've just met each other.
Okay.
Yes, and they're beamed down for the 6-hour mission, only to realize very quickly that there's a temporal dilation on the planet. 1 minute on the ship is equal to 58,440 seconds on the planet. So essentially, by the time the 6 hours is over, they'll have been there for 8 months.
Doesn't this feel, though, like it could have been a fun Star Trek Next Generation episode? But it would have been starring someone like Ro Laren or something. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It'd been like Ro and Geordi go down to the planet and they find out.
But isn't the story? I feel like I, as we've established, I do not know much about sci-fi, but I feel like I've heard of this kind of time thing.
Well, this
before.
this is central to the Christopher Nolan. What's it called?
Tenant?
Nope.
I haven't seen that.
Interstellar.
Interstellar.
Don't get me
Courtney
started.
likes that one.
Because they go to the
hate that
one
movie.
planet, and it's there's
Yes,
a time
that's right.
dilation on that planet. But I mean, I think there's a TNG episode.
When did that
one.
come out? Maybe he stole it from the show.
I
That
think
would make me really
that's
happy,
very
actually.
Likely. It's very likely.
Can I tell you my biggest problem with that movie?
Yeah.
Sure.
So all this time travel, all this stuff. How come he never loses his tan? Matthew McConaughey, he's tan. In space, is bright orange the entire time. How can you watch a movie when you're distracted like that?
I love that. That's like the old argument people used to make. Like, so am I supposed to believe when Superman's flying, that part doesn't come out? It's like, well, I don't know. I don't think we're supposed to worry so much about that.
So Courtney,
I'm just saying, that's how much I like that movie. I was not
You're-
paying attention.
yeah.
I was like, this music sucks.
Well, when you're bored, you start
This-
focusing
exactly.
on tans.
this is Courtney looks at tans. Jordan looks at wigs. These
I do
are
like,
what they
I do like
focus
at
on.
wigs.
It's very strong hair gel, though. It's fine. That's more believable.
But yes, I believe there's a TNG episode similar in that I believe Picard lives like a year or his entire
That's
life
right.
or something in his mind, and when he comes back, he's just like has to deal with the ramifications of like.
Yeah, the light episode, whatever it was called, the Inner Light. I think.
Inner
It
Light,
was
yes, yeah.
interesting. I mean, like,
It's
yeah.
I would say it's a fine concept. This idea of this time dilation.
It's done very badly.
It is done
Well,
as
they-
badly as they always
they-
do.
they
things.
do
We're-
it- they do
weren't
it for a
even,
gag.
But they weren't even looking for anything. Like, I'm like, what is this mission? As soon as they realized the time was forever, you think that they would spend time looking for the thing that they were looking for.
But it is.
But that's the show.
I mean, we're getting off track, but it is an issue with this show, which is everything is in the service of a joke.
Yeah.
But
So
the
they just
joke
set-
sometimes doesn't. Well, most of the time doesn't really work because they think the concept. They think the concept of the two of them down, these two people who don't get along, is funny enough that they don't need to do anything else. So thus, you should be laughing, but they don't do anything.
Well,
with
and
it.
you can see the beats coming. They get down there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
awkward at
yeah.
first. They realize, oh, we're gonna be here for 8 months. We immediately get like a slow. Every time we cut back to them, they're falling slightly more in love.
Yeah.
Until they are finally now in love, and they're
and then
hours
falling
is
out
up.
of love.
Yeah.
Well, and the 6 hours are up, and they're like, well, we're going to go back to the ship now, and everyone's going to be weirded out by the fact we're now in love. And instead of getting beamed up, a piece of paper is beamed down to the planet that says, I think I wrote it down here, it might be a while, robot uprising in progress. And so now they're stuck there for an unknown amount of time, and every time we cut back to them, we're now seeing the relationship fall apart, then become paranoid and violent. And it, I would say the one joke that ends well is he gets Tina is, as we've seen over the course of the show, is quite aggressive. That's become a real character trait. She kidnaps Michael, and she's like, "I'm going to eat you now." So then we cut back onto the ship when they finally get around to beaming them up. They beam them up. Michael's now missing a leg. It's just completely amputated. Blood's everywhere. Tina's face is covered in blood from eating human flesh. And they're just standing there, and the crew's staring at them. And what's the line they say? I believe it's just like, he fell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. It was the funniest joke
That
of the
was
episode.
absolutely, and
Yeah.
I was not expecting it because it was very not established that it went that
Every
far.
yeah,
Generally.
it was so not funny that it was like they actually like managed to raise it to a stake that was like so outrageous.
Well, and I mean it's funny too because like then the next because you're like, well, how can they do that? But then obviously in the next scene he's got a robot leg because it's space and who cares?
yeah, exactly. They're like, now he has
And
a
then
robot
there was
leg.
some funny stuff in the next episode because of that leg. So
That's true. That robot leg did become more useful. We gave Michael something to do.
Yeah.
But the other plot line that's happening, well, this sort of like love story, falling out story is going on.
I was just gonna say one thing. Those chicken cubes were weird. Have they established those before?
Oh, I completely forgot about this.
I can't remember now. The
There was
chicken
like
cubes.
It was like
It's
a food
Mrs. Noah.
source.
There's like a literal Mrs. Noah joke, like a ripoff of Mrs. Noah joke in this episode.
Is there?
I don't know what Mrs. Noah is.
It's another sci-fi
Yeah, you do,
comedy
Courtney. You
we
listen to all our
watched.
podcasts.
I have to say COVID wrecks my streak.
No, it's fine. Mrs. Noah is a very similar show.
Well, describe these things.
Okay, so it was like they said that they were gonna have a chicken cube, and the thing that was weird, it was like this little machine that basically pooped out a square of like it looked like chicken like flesh, but just pink. But there's like a little form of a chicken, so it's like
It's in the shape of a chicken.
yeah, like it's like
and it
wire
poops out
form.
little eggs for them to eat.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't eggs originally.
They were squares, though. Yeah.
The squares, but then there was an egg
Don't
later
remember.
when they're in the house when things were more established.
yeah.
But I think it was very odd, and I was like, "Is this how they always eat?" Like that was just
No,
question
this
I
is a
had.
brand new.
It was just a joke.
They had pills that you put in a like
Dehydrator.
rehydrator,
Rehydrator.
and then it would make things. So
That's
I'll be honest, I have zero memory of this. Zero.
It's
Okay.
it's such a throwaway, and I barely caught it too because the actual prop of the chicken that like lays these things
It's weird.
is like only when you really look at it because it just doesn't look like a chicken exactly because it's all mesh.
Yeah.
But like I realized that as I was watching, I'm like, oh, this is a chicken
Yeah.
laying the chicken cubes
Yeah.
for them to eat, and I'm like, this is literally
It's a Mrs. Noah joke.
Mrs. Noah had the exact same robot chicken that pooped out eggs, but was far funnier.
Well, there you go.
But it was very funny. I totally
crazy.
forgot. I didn't even put it in my notes because I forgot
Look,
about it. Courtney,
chicken cubes.
chicken cubes. We would have missed it entirely. This is how little I care about this show. Is just like my mind is turns off.
Let's be honest. I was just looking for things to talk about today.
I'm glad. I'm glad you're here. We
Because
would've
it's a
skimmed
weird
right
show.
past it.
Because it's
I
not.
know.
It's like it's not horrible. There's funny jokes and stuff, but it's like it's not as memorable as like
No, it is.
Boots
It
running
is an
and
entirely
the Bionic
forgettable
Woman thing and-
show.
but
After watching this, it's
I know I got canceled. Like it makes sense.
it's the
totally.
It's similar to trying to remember a dream. Like, what was this? What
It's
was
the Venom 2 of TV shows.
Oh no. But yeah.
No, thank you for bringing that up. But we'll go into the other plot
Yeah,
then,
no,
because
I'm
that's
more-
sort of what's
it's
happening
way more
there.
exciting. Yeah, for sure.
And the other plot is that Zaylene wants a bonus.
that's
What kicks it off.
that's
Sure.
what kicks it off.
Okay,
Yeah.
And Captain Stewart and his second in command / his sister Karen. I don't know if you knew they were brother and sister.
I did because I watched the trailer
Oh, there we go.
and I explained it to John.
They can never agree on what to do. As we know from watching the show, they're always arguing this
Mm-hmm.
too. Well, cats and dogs, you know what I mean?
It's because she's probably older and more experienced, and they gave it to him because
That
he's
is
a man.
That's what it is.
absolutely what it is.
I know. I saw that in the trailer too.
It's not because he's a man. It's because she's irritable.
Oh, well,
That's what they say.
worse. Anyway.
So the two of them decide they're going to come up with a solution for their perpetual bickering, and that is to remove the chain of command entirely, and they'll just each make up their mind and do whatever they think is best in the moment, and hence they don't have to argue anymore. And what could go wrong with that concept?
Yeah.
This is I Love Lucy level comedy plot.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
And of course, comedy ensues because Zalian then re-asks for his bonus to
Lucy's
Captain
funny,
Stewart.
but-
What's that?
I said I Love Lucy. It's funny, but go ahead.
It's true. I Love Lucy is a better show.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no
Like,
question
don't
about it.
compare the two shows.
Well, I think
You're gonna have like a lot
I think
of
the
people
point
very
is
upset.
structurally that's
Yeah,
the same sort
fair,
of thing. But
fair.
yes,
Sure.
there's no Lucy in here hilariously putting anything in her top as the conveyor belt goes by quickly. You know.
Yeah.
Zalian comes back, asks for that bonus again. And Captain Stewart's only by himself now, so he agrees to give him a $1 million bonus.
Because money doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Because they're lost in space, so what does it matter? Of course, as soon as Zalian hears about this bonus, he immediately retires from his job and stops taking orders, so he's no longer available to work on the crew. While this is happening, Art the robot, Natasha the computer, and Kent the sentient organ farm with gills, and apparently no fingerprints we're finding out.
That was a huge question, was what is he? Because I couldn't figure it out. And then it was, I think, in the next episode, there was a weird, gross thing that we can talk about. But
Yeah, he's supposed to be like a sibling his parents had birthed to purely be an organ farm and live in a pod, but that brother died in a I believe a drag race with his coke dealer, so they've been forced to bring the clone out to be their only child.
sure, but why is he on the ship?
Oh, they don't like him, so they got rid of him by putting him on the ship.
It's a long way to go
It's
for
not like
jokes
he's
about fingerprints.
He's not an organ donor in case the crew gets in trouble?
No. It was originally for his elder brother, who has now passed away.
Oh, I didn't know at all. I could
Oh, that's
not
fine.
for 2 episodes piece together what his story was.
You wouldn't know that in the first episode they established Kent as only wanting to have sex with his mother. It has never come up again.
There's a weird gag they do with the no fingerprints on this though, and
He's
like,
a strangler.
well, he's like I don't have fingers, and then at one point to show it, he runs his fingers against the screen that make a squeak noise, and my thought was, wouldn't it have not made a squeak noise if he doesn't have any friction on his fingers?
Oh, a good question. I don't know.
Anyways,
You should have been the science consultant.
just the annoying person. A point of order.
Yeah.
But yes, so these three have been talking, and they don't like how they're being treated. Essentially, they each like to get human privileges on the ship, is what they're asking for. And they each have their own reasons. The robot wants to go into bathrooms. Natasha, I don't know, she just wants them because she feels like a second-class citizen as the computer.
She's one of the best characters on the whole show.
And Kent can't use a 3D printer because he doesn't have fingerprints, so he needs human privileges to use the 3D printer. And they bring this to Karen, and Karen, of course, since she can make arbitrary things, says no to human privileges, and they immediately set about organizing a robot revolution, Kent being made a robot honorarily.
Yeah. I think, again, on paper, I think that's a funny idea. In the execution, you're like, it just doesn't really go anywhere of any consequence. You know, it just kind of happens. But it was like, that's a funny idea. That these people are stuck on the planet and the robots have revolted and taken over. And there's a couple beats that are all right. Like the idea that the coffee machine becomes like a
It's 100%
dictator.
the best thing.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But it just, like,
best.
on paper, but in execution, you're like, it's not as funny as it could be. Like, I actually thought, and this is dumb, the coffee machine, which we'll talk about, that makes only coffee puns, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, it was really funny.
It's funny.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys got that out of it.
Yeah.
But
But I just mean there's more to it than that. Like, there's nothing wrong to start with the coffee machine makes puns, but there's got to be more jokes you can mine out of that. But they were like, done.
Right.
That's it. That's all we need. And it's like, well, no, that's a good starting point.
And we've never seen the coffee maker before.
No, Coffee Maker's brand new. Essentially what it is that at first, Stuart and Karen aren't very worried about this robot revolution because of the second law of robotics protecting them. Do you guys know what the second law of robotics is?
Yeah. This is the Isaac
can't-
Asimov sort of thing.
I have to assume. They don't mention it in the show.
They can't hurt humans.
I had to look it up. Robots must obey orders is apparently
must
Asimov's
any orders.
second rule of robotics. However, as we've been talking about, there is a talking coffee machine that's earlier established episode as charging $40 for a cup of coffee that Captain Stewart breaks when it won't stop like making coffee puns. And apparently this robot, the reason it was doing that is it is defective, so that the robots in the Robot Revolution go and get him from the defective pile, I believe they call it, and they bring it because the robot will shoot anyone who crosses it. It doesn't have to play by the second rule of robotics because it's defective. Unfortunately for them, this talking coffee pot also takes over their whole revolution, becomes like a dictator, takes over the ship, and like kind of all of their plans to get human privileges have been dissuaded because they've brought a despot into it, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm making it sound more interesting, complicated than it even is.
Well,
on the show.
it happens so fast, and it's silly to say that about a coffee pot taking over, but because it's only a 20-something minute episode, and they want to have the revolution
point
happen.
Of order.
Point of order.
What's that?
This show is not a 20 minutes. Like the whole thing is like almost half an hour each episode. Like they're
Well,
all
26
too long.
minutes. Or whatever.
Yeah, but like comedies are supposed to be 22 minutes unless you're getting into that whole thing, and it does not need that extra space. Just saying, it would have been a lot tighter if they cut 10 minutes of the show.
I don't disagree.
That's
yeah,
all.
I mean, maybe for this show, I just mean like
I know
the idea didn't have any room to breathe or anything because it was just like they wanted to get to
the joke.
The joke is the coffee machine's going to be sitting in the chair, shooting them with lasers and making brewing jokes.
Which I liked.
Yeah, I like the brewing jokes too. I like the brewing jokes too. It seemed like there could have been more along the way of the idea of them revolting. There's something interesting there. That's all.
And we don't get too much of it. Essentially, once the robot coffee maker takes over, ruins the robot revolution, immediately Kent, Natasha, and Art have to come up with a plan to like stop the coffee maker. So they immediately abandon their plans.
Yeah.
And the way to stop it is they realize to use the first law of robotics against it, but they're going to need Zalian's help for that because he's the only one with human privileges, I guess. That's why they need Zalian's help to stop the coffee pot.
I thought it was just because he's the Mr. Fix-It kind of guy.
I think that's what I got as well. It's just that he's the guy that is on the ship to fix things, and they don't know how to do anything.
He's the O'Brien.
I guess so, but his fix is to walk onto the bridge and order 40,000 cups of coffee at $40 a cup, hence spending his entire $1 million bonus. And the first rule of robotics is?
The customer's always right.
Customer's always right. So the robot has to listen. It doesn't have enough beans, proceeds to explode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'll give it this. I didn't think that's how they were going to defeat the robot. I mean, right? I mean,
Valid.
You thought for sure Zalian was going to continue to be retired for the rest of the episode.
It's not that. I knew that we'd get back to status quo because that's what this show is, but I didn't think that was going to be how they were going to defeat him.
Is to spend his whole bonus, and then Zalian has to ask for his job back.
Yeah,
and we get back to status quo.
Yeah,
Jordan's loving this show.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how they end the episode. And the episode kind of just ends. Everyone gets back to the ship. Robot legs, blah blah blah, and we get something they've been doing the last 2 or 3 episodes that they've started doing that's brand new. Is the end of the episode is always like some weird cliffhanger that they really refuse to explain. And this time it was an alien goes down to the planet and sees sort of the settlement that Tina and Michael.
Was that after the credits started?
No.
What?
You had already stood up and walked away.
I might have. Wait.
You're already eating crackers.
I wasn't. What happened?
At the end of the episode, an alien is seen on the planet
with like a cloak.
Oh yeah, no, I did see that. Sorry, it just didn't make any sense, so it blocked it from my mind.
And looking at the remnants of their settlement, and it's just like we're like, oh, this alien's following that.
Well, I think it was that,
or
there was like this implied that because time has gone so far, they're now like an archaeological sort of.
I don't think that's what they were going for.
No,
I think they were really like because each episode they've been ending. The last 3 ones have ended with like somebody's watching them, and I think this is the similar.
Anyways, it doesn't. As of right now, it has not paid off for anything, so it doesn't matter.
It
probably won't.
Forgetting it completely. Like as
no, it's gonna. They're definitely gonna pay it off in the next 2 episodes.
You think so?
Oh, they've been building up to it all season. They're so excited for this reveal. They're like, I can't wait to see how bad it is because it's like
maybe it's David Franco.
Maybe
I could bring him back.
How did he die?
He exploded.
Oh, harder to in front of people.
Yeah, we watched him get blown in an airlock, turn into a pile of goo, and then explode.
Okay, so unlikely.
Unlikely. Maybe James will drop by.
Let's hope not.
That's the episode. I'm shocked we talked about it so long. My notes are like 1 page long.
I know. My notes are getting shorter and shorter.
Well, mine are also only 1 page long, but...
Hey, you know what we also learned? Underneath their outfits, they wear tank tops.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. They do take off the tops.
Do their colors mean anything like in Star Trek?
I think they do, but they've never indicated.
Because they're all sort of different, right?
Yeah, I know.
I vaguely know what everyone's job is, so they probably fall into some sort of category, but they've never specified.
I've learned that from this podcast.
What about Star Trek uniforms? We talk about that a lot.
I don't know. Or from knowing you two. I don't know if it's specific.
Jordan won't shut up about that. That's true. He's always like, people in real life should be forced to wear uniforms that are colored so I can tell them apart.
That's the only way.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, obviously with my love of coffee, I did like all the puns,
It
and
was very-
I like puns, and I like
puns too.
and I was wondering if those voices were people that were like famous or whatever. The art guy apparently is the top billed person on the show, which I thought was interesting. Art is the other robot.
On IMDb, he certainly is on the top of the list.
But he's I don't know. He's just done a lot of voices, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he's that top billed in the show. Probably in the credits. He's probably.
Well, I don't know. He was the first. I think he might have been the first person.
Oh,
I don't know.
I could be wrong.
Maybe
It might have been after though. Like it might have been the first one after all the main ones. I don't know.
Well, if
I just noticed his name.
If I watch the last 2 episodes, I'll keep my eye out for it.
I don't know. There's like a 50-50 chance that's accurate. I don't know. I just noticed it.
All right. Well, you guys want to move on to the next episode?
Yeah, Powerless.
Here's the IMDb summary for episode 6, Powerless.
Emergency mode turned off all non-essential body mods, including translators, artificial limbs, and corneal implants. Tina doesn't actually speak English. She's from unincorporated Uzbekistan.
Что это за херня? Объясни мне, а то я тебе шею сломаю!
Grotesque. They can't possibly think that's an acceptable way to talk.
With the ship trapped in a lightning storm, Karen struggles to persuade the crew to limit their power usage, while Stuart learns to pilot the ship manually with help from Zalian. I'm having trouble reading here. Meanwhile, Kent attempts to re-educate Natasha, who has been reduced to the mental age of a child after the first lightning strike. And that was courtesy of UMP Dreadnought.
Dreadnought. This starts with this weird country music joke, which I didn't think was very funny, and I'll be honest, I did kind of stop paying attention already. But it seemed to be the same joke they did a few episodes. Remember they made like a Pixar type joke?
Yes.
It's the same sort of thing, right? Where they
They're
play
very
a
similar.
song, and then I guess the lyrics are supposed to indicate some sort of jab of some sort. But I didn't quite get what the joke was. Well, what is the country music joke?
Well, I don't know. The song was called "Fuel, Shields, and Food" or something.
Yes.
So I wrote it down because I was like, this is gonna come up. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say what the joke is. The joke, I guess, in the episode is they're like, "Hey, everything, we got the fuel back, so all of our problems are solved. We have fuel,
We're
we
back
have
in it.
full shields, and we have food." I still don't know how they solved their food problem, but I guess that
What-
problem is solved.
Can I ask why he gets to drink Skittles?
I have no
With
idea
the
either.
talking cup, is that established
No,
before?
never seen it.
Anytime those things come up, it's a weird thing the show does, and I think they kind of forgive it. They do it for the gag.
Yeah.
But
what's the gag? Just that he's drinking Skittles?
I think so. It's the same thing. It's like why did it poop out chicken cubes?
Yeah,
Just
well, I mean,
because.
at
Why
least-
did these things happen? Just
At least
because.
that's food. At least.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
Skittles
think
are food.
my guess was that it's sort of that he's kind of a bit of a man child.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, why it's a talking cup thing? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot of these jokes have trouble. Like let's go back to country music. They
Yeah.
say these things. They say they've got fuel, shields, and food, and then they all get excited. They're like, just like that country song by the all-country bad girl Bailey Mae Chapman, and then they immediately play just like a mimic country song where those are the lyrics. And
That's what I mean. I didn't get what the joke was.
and then you stand there listening to it where they dance around, and they're like, "Well, that's enough of that." I'm like,
literally. It was
okay.
Like, what's happening? Yeah.
yeah.
and
But that's what I mean. I think there's a joke in there somewhere, but I didn't understand. I just don't understand
Is
what.
it because we don't know country music? Maybe was there a real song?
Well, that's the thing. I was like, is the joke
don't think
country
so.
music sucks? Like, whatever your opinion is, at least that's a joke.
no, that wasn't the joke either.
But I don't think it was, right?
Yeah, I don't think so either.
The only joke seemed to be they stop it because they're like, we can't play the rest of the lyrics at work.
Oh yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's
It's not work appropriate.
yeah,
And
it's
you're
not
like,
work appropriate.
okay. To what end? I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't a good one.
At any rate, what we're supposed to know, though, is like everything's finally going well on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So well, they've almost finished this ripple detection system that will help them find NPRS to go home. Did you guys write down what an NPRS is?
No.
It wasn't the radio show though.
It wasn't. Yes, it wasn't NPR. It was NPRS, which is that's sort of like not the radio show. National Public Radio Skating was their joke. I'm like, that's your joke for what NPRS stands for.
I literally didn't even catch that.
I just didn't understand it. I'm like, okay, I guess that's
it's
a joke.
because it doesn't make sense.
And then, but no, and here's what's crazy to me is like they did this whole that's the whole joke. NPRS. Oh, you mean National Public Radio Skating? And I'm like, okay, well, let's find out what this really means. And what it really means is next possible ripple site. Also, not a very good acronym. So it's just like you made up a not good acronym to make a joke that was National Public Radio Skating.
When they're in control of what these are, it's not like
Like,
they
it's their
have
job.
to use a
It's-
real
They made
acronym.
it all up. They made it all up themselves just now.
Bizarre.
Just now might be the key to that sentence.
That's true. That's true. Anyway, there's a chance now they could find a Ripple to go home with. And as was sort of hinted at last episode and confirmed this episode, Kent and Natasha the computer fell in love.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
There's just like...
See, I found that kind of weirdly creepy / sweet because I didn't know that it wasn't established this entire time.
It just happened, like, last episode, Kent wanted to give her a rose, and she was flattered. And then episode 2, they're like, we're in love. I'm like, okie dokie.
I thought it was going to be, and maybe...
She's way too hot for him.
She is very attractive.
Yeah, it's weird.
I thought it was going to be that sort of like, he's sort of lovelorn and pining for her, and she's like, I'm a robot, and I don't have feelings. I thought that's where it's going. And maybe that's too boring, but yeah, I do.
She's into it.
She's into it, and you're like, oh, okay.
Spoiler alert.
She's
It's literally the end of the episode, guys.
She's into it. I mean, they don't really hide it for most of this. They're pretty much into it.
And let me just say, I think the actress is fine, and I think she's one of the better parts.
Yeah.
Like I
it's
like
an interesting. I like the way it's shot. I find it very interesting, and like,
yeah.
why did
and
she
she's
need to
perfectly
change her
fine.
clothes? Like, it's funny.
However, I hate when they have to make actors and actresses do this sort of thing. It's the same as like acting drunk. I hate it.
The baby
and
thing?
doing the baby thing. It
Yeah.
just is like, there's no way
It
you're
was
getting
too
out of this
long.
alive.
Yeah, it's too long.
And it just
Yeah.
is her having to. I
Well,
don't even know
that's
how
it.
you.
That's it. This is what
Yeah.
happens. It
Yeah,
all falls
it's
apart.
a little gross.
Like, isn't it cringy? I was cringy
I mean,
the whole
if
time
it was
for her.
a guy, it would be less cringy. But it's just like this obviously like sex symbol of the show is having to be I can't say the word.
Infantilized.
Thank you.
Well, this is what happens: is they are struck by lightning. Everything's going well, and they end up in a green space lightning storm, whatever that is. Get hit by lightning, and the ship enters low power emergency mode. What this means is Zaley and Stewart get sealed onto the bridge together, so they're separated for their own B plot. And then Natasha, as you said, her powers reduced because of this, reverting her. At first, I didn't understand what they were doing, but later you see she's supposed to be reverted to basically infant intelligence, and Kent will train her to get like to a teenager, and she'll be sullen and mean and things
But
like
now,
that.
don't you think there's an interesting beat they missed? The idea that there's an emergency, the ship quarters people off, or quarantines people off, and now people who maybe we don't usually see together having to interact. It's the same sort of idea that the two on the planet
Yeah.
don't really get along. But they don't.
Now
They
they're
don't
best
go.
friends,
They don't go with that at all. It's just like, oh yeah, they're on the bridge together. Anyway,
Yeah,
you know.
this show's not interested in exploring the characters. They're going for quick, fast gags. So it is
Yeah.
that thing where it's just like, I think a different show who wanted to build these characters out would probably use that to like, what's this relationship like? How's it? How do they butt heads? But for the most part, it's
Maybe if they got more than 8 episodes, they'd get to.
yeah, maybe
do that.
they finally start clicking this into place.
But maybe if they had done that earlier, we'd want to see more than 8 episodes.
Yahoo, what were
Oh,
you thinking?
well, that's another question I got. I got Yahoo original question mark. We gotta talk about that later. Not right now though.
Okay, we'll save that for the end. But yes, Natasha's knocked back, so she's got to relearn everything via Kent. They do a weird gag here where they like the only way to communicate with the rest of the crew is they have to send the like infant-brained Natasha wearing different shirts with different emojis on them to explain what's happened via emojis. And when they successfully tell like Karen, it's like, oh, lightning storm, don't use power, we'll all die. She sends back the spicy tuna hand-rolled emoji, and Zalian says, there's someone who really knows their emoji history, and then they never comment on it
Yeah, I
again.
didn't get that joke.
That's the thing. They make a joke like this is an important emoji in the future, and it says something. He says that, and then he's just like never explains it any further. And it's
Yeah.
because what they're trying to do, I think, and I think this comes back to that thing with the Skittles in a cup, is they suddenly introduce this idea that Zalian's so like much older than the crew. So he's like, all young people are coddled. They don't know how to do anything without their fancy cups that talk to them and feed them Skittles. Like that's the gag now between like that for the rest of the episode. That's the gag between him and Stewart. Is like Stewart's never had to like steer a ship by hand.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
and in the olden days are always better than the new days.
I
Like
had a car.
kids these
But
days.
that's also not consistent with what we've learned about Zalian up to this point. Up to this point, he's the slacker stoner guy who's just fumbled his way through. Maybe had some glory days at one point, but now he's just going through the motions.
Was that necklace thing? Has that ever been established
no,
before?
no.
What was the necklace thing?
He had captured part of space or something. I don't know.
There's basically what happens is
I don't remember.
Zalian.
It's 3 seconds. I don't know what's been established, so I'm like, oh, maybe this is important. Let's write it down.
This show's a lot like that. But yeah, basically what happens is Zalian installs a steering wheel so that Stewart can fly the ship manually with literally just a steering wheel.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's never done it before, wouldn't the guy that used to actually steer ships be the better person to do this?
100%.
Absolutely.
But that's not the show.
Yeah.
And the idea is that like now Stewart's like gets to experience like hands-on driving, and it really changes his life. And they fly around this storm. He happens to see debris of an alien ship. And there's this whole thing where he's like, I really want to meet an alien. It'd be amazing. And this is where the necklace comes in. His alien's just like, hey, Alien, weren't you the first person on one of the first crews to like encounter alien life? And he's like, yeah, I got this sweet necklace. And he opens it, and it's just like a weird glowing thing. And I think it's supposed to, he's like, this is the first tardigrade we ever met in space. And I think the joke is like he's got like a microscopic alien in his thing because it's the only aliens anyone's ever met up till now. Though this crew has actually met aliens twice now.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure why Stewart's so excited to meet an alien.
Yeah, well, because
Really? They've met
yeah.
like actual like on board.
Dave Franco was an alien.
Okay.
And then aliens in the first, like a whole bunch of aliens showed up in the first one.
Yeah. I think they're just playing with the idea of
He loves to explore space.
yes.
Which
yes.
is lovely. He's a space person.
Yes. I mean,
That's the person that you want to be a captain of a ship.
that is, I think, the idea behind Stewart. They would like us to believe.
Mm-hmm.
What's why we're supposed to like him?
He's not unlikable. He's just
No, he's-
kinda
The whole
dumb.
cast is good,
They're-
but it's just a bad show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've said that before, and just
The characters
going
are
off.
interesting enough.
Yeah, all the performers are giving it, and they're engaging actors, and the characters are not the worst. It's
Production
just that
design's pretty bad.
yeah, but they just don't know what to do with them. They just bounce around saying lines that are, I think you mentioned, it's like they're like first attempts at like improv, and then they're like, anything better? Nope, that's good enough.
That's it. The joke is like, didn't you meet aliens before? It's like, yeah, I did. Check it out. Here's a tardigrade and necklace, and you're like, oh, this is the joke. Like that's the joke. It's just like, here's a tardigrade and a necklace, and you're like, I don't.
You know, the
know
kind of jokes in the
funny.
show that I like are things like the leg compartment for
Yeah.
the gum. That stuff's great.
Well,
that's
that's-
gold. Like that's the level that I'm dealing with.
That's
right?
what's
like
happening.
It's puns
Yeah. Yeah.
and prop humor.
That's what's happening with the rest of the crew is that they're trapped in another part of the ship, and they have to deal with being in low power mode, which is very inconvenient for them all. Essentially, when they go to low power mode, it turns off a bunch of things. Like the universal translator turns off, so Tina can now only speak in her native Uzbek language. The body mods are disabled, so Karen needs glasses, and Michael's new robotic leg, he can't open it and store gum inside of it anymore. Like, it just doesn't move. And Art, I guess, is inconvenienced because he wants to put on a light show, and he can't now. He's not allowed.
The thing about Art is, I'm positive that what they're hoping for is like a Bender type character. That's
Yeah,
what they
that's
want him
what
to be,
they're
right?
going for. Yeah,
but
for
it
sure.
just, I don't know why they just don't go for it then. Like, have him be a drunk, surly person who says inappropriate things at all times, as opposed to like, he comes and is like, I want a light show, and I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to learn about art? I don't know. Even the gag of it, he wants to get into washrooms. Make him a pervert. He wants to go into washrooms to peek at people. Like, I don't think that's funny, but at least it's something.
That you don't like that he's a billionaire's soul trapped in a robot?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Maybe.
That's what it is. Well, they keep calling him a billionaire all episode. They're like billionaire in a budget body.
Stupid.
They did?
They were singing that. Every time they sing, that's what they sing to him.
When are they singing?
Every time Art throws his light show party and they're all dancing around, they're like,
Is-
billionaire in a budget body. And they say
Oh.
that over and
Well,
over
Is this
and
show-
over again.
Fair
Is this
enough.
the show of any show we've watched, the one where we remember the least? And like, Courtney, you said you watched it this morning.
This
I watched
morning.
it last night.
Yeah.
So 12 hours it's too much. It's too much to keep in my head for the show.
It's just nothing means anything.
Yeah.
There's nothing to hold on to.
I think I just thought they were singing something. I didn't think it was important.
I
was-
mean, it's not.
It's not.
I was
okay.
folding laundry.
Oh, that's fair. I was writing notes down and I didn't catch it.
The big conflict here, though, is that Karen, the second in command, is like, we can't use power, and Tina and Art are just like, fuck that, we're going to. So they basically turn on all the systems again, and Karen gets mad at them because they're like, we told you not to because we might get hit by lightning if we have too much power. And then the ship starts shaking, and Karen knows that it's being manually piloted, but she doesn't pass information along, so it spooks the rest of the crew. They're really afraid, so they turn off all their power again. And this leads to basically these three members of the crew being like, well, we can't die, so we better turn off all the power. And they're like, well, that means we got to kill Natasha because she's a computer.
Yeah, it's a weird leap to make, right?
It's like a cult automatically. Like it's like a little insurrection.
They go
after having one lap.
the
They
last
saw
episode.
they saw the power of the robot, and they're like, we want that power.
Yeah, they really go from 0 to 60 on this show. But yeah, that's the idea. Is they're like, well, if we can't use power, that means we got to kill Natasha or we'll all die. And then as soon as they decide to do that, you get Tina pulls out a knife and cuts off Art's head because he's also using power. And so Art, unfortunately, gets his own demise by demanding the head of Natasha. And then basically what we see is they want to go kill Natasha, so they show up, and Kent and Karen step in and are like, you guys calm down, let's not kill anybody. And they're like, all right, well, let's kill you then. And as they're about to murder their crewmates, all the power comes back on. They're like, oopsie doodles.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the weird thing that this guy sleeps in? Because we kind of went over that.
Sure. You want to talk about Kent's sleeping pod?
It was so gross.
Yes, Kent sleeps in a goo pod.
All of it was really gross. I did not like it. Is that established?
That is established, yes.
Okay.
Remember the show we watched, Luke? And actually, you might have been on for one of the episodes.
I feel like I might have been.
Space Rangers?
I was on a Space Rangers.
Didn't the Klingon type guy, didn't he sleep in a goo sack?
Oh, I don't remember. Maybe.
I think he
I've seen something like this before.
I know
like,
in
it's
Space
not new, but
the clone was born out of a goo slot.
That's true. We have seen a few goo slots.
I don't
Clones
like
and
it.
goo slots are pretty common.
But I didn't know it was a clone, so I was very confused.
When did we start calling it a goo slot?
That's what they're called. That's the technical term.
Too much endearment.
Anyway, that sort of ends their plot when the power comes back on. And what we get to see is for Stewart, his big moment at the end of the episode is he wants to go investigate this broken alien ship. But there's an option to go further and possibly destroy the ship or leave this storm and save everybody. And he chooses to save everyone instead of exploring.
Which, again, is an interesting idea to...
It happens in 30 seconds.
That's what I mean. It's like it was an actual interesting thing they could have done in this show where...
The whole episode
is about him making that choice and fighting against what he has wanted his whole life, was just be an explorer. But they're like, oh, what should I do? Anyways, guys, I chose to leave. It's like, oh, okay, well, that was a scene I didn't need then.
Well, and at the end of the episode sort of doubles down on that because the final scene is that ripple detection system picks up a ripple. It's coming up. They may have a way home, and Stewart's sad because he's enjoying exploring new space. But then we cut, and he comes in and tells everyone, he's like, we're all going home. There's a ripple. And he gets patted on the back being like, hey, man, sorry that you're not going to get to explore space. And that's sort of where the episode ends. It's like they all are going to go home soon.
Is home Earth?
It's 72 hours away, the ripple.
Yes, home is back to their planet.
Yeah.
Out of other space, back to normal space.
But Earth is where they live?
Yeah, they do live on Earth.
In 2015?
2052. Maybe further than that. Maybe 2152, maybe.
I'm not sure. I can't remember. But it's in the future.
Quite in the far from the future.
So probably not 30 years from now.
Not 30 years from now, probably, no. You're right. It's probably not 30 years from now. Oh, well, and that wraps up that episode, too. It's just, these episodes aren't going anywhere.
Well, they all feel sort of perfunctory, which is, it's just a bummer. It's like all the things like we said, like there's no reason for it to be as forgettable as it is, because even when they have a good idea, it's almost as if they're going out of their way to not
explore it.
Not explore it. It's like, hey, that's something cool. Forget it, because we need to make a joke that's not a joke, and there's no time.
We need a robot chicken that poops an egg. And also, we're not going to show you it and make it do anything with.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if it's and I don't know, obviously, but it's a pretty interesting. We've established good team of writers, directors that have been involved in the show.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that directed this episode, I looked him up. He did a bunch of The Office. He was the cinematographer for 100 episodes of The Office. He's done Abbott Elementary, which I just saw, a bunch of stuff. He's a very busy working director.
I think it though is one of these things
but
that sometimes you watch something and you go, I feel like everyone involved in this
thought
had
it
a
was
really
a
good time.
They were gonna do a good show, but it got missed in the editing, or not blaming editors, but it didn't come together the way they thought, or alternatively, they just took a paycheck and everyone was like, I'm going to do Paul Feig's new show. I don't think this is a show. Let's just get our money and get out.
Yeah.
That's dark. I hope that's not the case.
I think it's everyone had a really good time. They all liked each other and they were like, this is funny. And it's funny on the ground. And when you start putting together an episode, you're like, this is not as funny as you guys thought it was on the ground. That's what I think. And I think
you're right.
I think these were very skeleton scripts that they thought these people will ad-lib, and they didn't really ad-lib anything that great, and so that's what you got.
Well, this is a good question then about the Yahoo of it all.
Okay, the Yahoo of it all.
So, I forgot that Yahoo
Goose
was
lot.
even trying to get into streaming and stuff. So, this is original content that they made, so maybe weren't as involved, or were a little looser with the rules and the structures, or maybe there wasn't commercials. I don't think that it was.
I don't think
there
there
commercials.
are, no.
So it's like that can be hard to do comedy without those.
Yeah, I think
things.
it's similar. Like, it's a problem Netflix has, right? They're not an entertainment company, so they give a lot of money to creative people, and they kind of just hope it's going to work out. So there's not a lot of feedback on them, so you just kind of get what you get. And I feel this is very similar. It's like, it does feel like Yahoo wanted something.
A couple extra round of notes would have been helpful.
Yeah, Paul Feig got in a room, was like, I got an idea for a space thing. They're like, great, here's $500 million.
But I wonder if he's even super involved in it. I wonder if
He
they
wrote
just...
every episode.
Well, he's not the writer on every episode.
He is credited as the writer on every episode.
I
If you look at if you watch
don't know.
online, it shows everyone's a writer, but everyone also has a story editor role. And if you start watching, I think what it is, he had a writer's room. He takes credit as the writer.
Well, I mean, I know how this works, but like that, you don't have to explain this to me. But I didn't think that was what the.
I could be wrong.
I thought it was the opposite, but I mean, again,
From everything I've read, and I've read a little bit, and we haven't talked that much about outside, he loved this show,
Oh.
and he is still, to this day, we're
Would
recording
like
this in 2022, he's still talking about trying to bring this back.
Really?
Yeah. He really liked the show, and he's hopeful. He's tried to get like fans on board. He wants to bring the show back. He's like,
I mean, the
miss it.
ratings were actually pretty high on IMDb. Like, I was shocked. Like, it was like 7.
Well,
Like-
is there a better segue? Let's rate these ourselves.
Yeah, all right. Do you guys want to rate them? Courtney's looking very upset.
I mean, I you guys made me dislike it even more. But I mean,
Well, when you
they
think
were
about this
fine.
show,
Well, let's get into it. So there's Troubles Brewing is the first episode we watched.
Yes.
Out of 10, as you know, where would you fall for you personally?
In my normal TV watching or other shows you guys have made me watch?
no, any way you
Any
want
way
it.
you want to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say.
How do you compare this to Harsh Realm?
Yeah, so in terms of enjoyability of some of the stuff I've had to watch, like, it wasn't super painful. So I would say a 7. No, an 8 for this one.
An 8.
Yeah.
Holy moly!
But that is with real low stakes.
Yeah, this is 2. This is
Yeah.
another 2.
Luke gives it a 2.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 5.5. I think.
All right,
I think this show.
I'm gonna joke. I'm gonna say 7.
All right, you're gonna go down to 7.
I'm gonna
See,
7.
Luke always thinks it's never gonna get above a 2. I always think it just hits right down the middle.
Yeah,
it's not.
that's it,
It's
though,
just
yeah.
like, it's a forgettable 5
I think
all the way through.
I think it's probably a 3 in my lifetime of watching television.
It's crazy to me that just like there are 2 jokes I laughed at, 5.5. Like it's like
Yeah.
that's 30 minutes of your time.
I would say that I really enjoyed the coffee stuff. I found that coffee
Well,
very
we
funny.
all agree. Episode 5 was better than episode 6. We agree.
100%.
No,
Noah.
they both suck
2?
shit.
Oh.
2.
They both sucked.
Well, I would say also my problem was that it was really uneven the first episode. So I really liked the robot thing, and I could have spent the entire time with that. I could have had an entirely separate episode with the time thing, but not with just those 2 people. There wasn't enough going on there.
So what do you give the second episode?
The second episode?
Powerless when they're in these.
Yeah,
so,
oh,
like,
I know.
And by the way, you gave it an 8, 7, and 3. What was this final score on it?
I average a 5. No. I think I would give that one, if I gave the first one a 7, I'd give it a 5.
All right, a pretty serious deduction.
Yeah, I didn't like the second episode.
It's 2. They are all the same episode to me. It's a 2.
I give it a 4. 4 for me.
There we go. We got all the ratings in.
Well, and it's not rating high, and
It's gonna be. I think its comedy is a lot like this. It's gonna be based on personal preferences, like
Yeah.
how much you enjoy. Like, here's the thing:
You hate it
don't
more than
care.
I do.
I don't care for puns. Like that. I don't
Oh.
like. They don't do anything for me.
They're
So that whole
great.
coffee robot, all it does is puns. So like, if puns are funny to you, you're probably gonna get a lot more mileage out of it. For me, it was just like,
yeah.
I'm just sitting there waiting to hear what pun robots.
You
do.
didn't
here's
like,
the thing.
I'm the captain now, and you're going to be roasted?
No.
See,
Comedy gold.
I'll say this: at least you knew it was a joke. Am I right? You knew it's a joke.
Here's the thing.
It's better than I've got a
This is the
tardigrade at a
problem.
necklace.
It's just like the only times I can tell it's
I
a
don't
joke
you
when
got, like, how you
that's
guys-
what it is.
Is that an established thing? This
No.
necklace that you're talking about? No, I mean, as in sci-fi land.
No.
No.
What is the word you're using?
Like a hologram?
Hologram.
A tardigrade?
Yeah, that word. Is that an?
It's
is
like
that
a
thing?
little. It's a thing on Earth too. It's like a little
Microscopic organism.
worm thing.
There's just been like, it's very funny
I'm
that's
too
happening.
dumb for these shows. Maybe.
No.
It's very funny that's happening because like this.
You're definitely not.
I think
I
at some
know.
point someone must have written some sort of like popular science essay about tardigrades because in
It's
this period
everywhere.
of time, like Star Trek has a tardigrade, everyone has a tardigrade suddenly. So I think there was just like an interesting article about how
Yeah.
tardigrades.
There's
could
no
live
way
in
everyone
space.
became interested in tardigrades in 2015.
It's a very funny that I know. I was
Interesting.
laughing when I heard the word tardigrade. I'm like, oh, this is when everyone liked tardigrades.
Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, I think the lesson here is like comedy is just it's very subjective. So I think your mileage is gonna differ.
I would 100% have not watched the second episode.
If you had not been forced to.
100%.
I wouldn't have survived the first episode.
Well, the first I would be. Yeah, it's interesting because it's like I don't know if pilots are difficult, obviously, and we don't need to rehash what the pilot was, but the trailer made me more interested in the show than that's a trailer. That's the whole job of it. Like I was like, okay.
I mean, I bet you it cuts into a great trailer.
Yeah, if you put all 8 episodes into one trailer, yeah, probably decent.
I don't even know. I think it's all the first episode, probably.
Oh, really?
But
These explosive fart sneezes. Everyone's
No.
rolling the aisles.
no, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the premise. I don't know. And,
Like
the
the-
choice of the low tech of the design and everything. Like it's just like if you're gonna do a sci-fi show like that, it's just like I don't know.
I think
I
that's
just want it to look
I
a
think
little
that's
bit better.
purposeful though.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah. I know it's a choice. I mean, it's a smart choice because budget, but like I don't. It loses something for me because I'm like.
But when
feels
she
like a
ate
play.
when she ate his leg, that was funny though. We all agreed.
Yeah, that
Best
was very
moment.
Best
funny.
joke, yeah.
moment. That's
Yeah.
where one of the points is.
Yep.
Which is really funny though because like I said, that storyline I didn't like, and then I was like, okay, that's what we watched it for.
And we had talked about this in the previous episode because we knew they were going to go down to the planet. Like, what were they going to do? Were they going to go to location? Was it going to be green screen? It's actually all a set they built, but
Yes.
it's a very small set. You can tell they couldn't move the camera out. Like, there's like there's like 10 feet of rock wall.
It's
they can shoot in
actually
front of
yeah,
them.
it's very original Star Trek, but even smaller.
Yeah, there was like it's a corner of the studio they set up with a rock wall.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, it's probably enough about Other Space Rain.
Only 2 more episodes, Luke.
I know we're almost done.
So
We're almost in
you
the whole
guys
series.
you guys don't. If you been reviewing it so bad, poorly. You don't use the escape pod anymore. Is that not a thing?
Well, we do, but we have to watch 6 episodes, and this is 6 episodes now, so we're just gonna finish it.
Yeah,
off
you
next
gotta
week.
finish it.
There's like no.
You gotta tell me how it ends.
There's no point.
We're basically stuck because it's only
Yeah.
8 episodes long.
Yeah, interesting.
That's the funny part is like anytime we watch something that's only 8 episodes long, we're stuck in it and we know it's gonna be bad.
Here's the thing, though. This is going to be one of these shows where we're going to reference a year from now, and neither of us will remember we watched it.
Oh, 100%.
I'll forget
I-
about this immediately.
Yeah.
Oh, the only person who remembers this is Paul Feig.
Ask me about it later tonight, and I won't remember.
You're probably right.
You guys have said you guys watched this in the
Yeah.
last 24 hours, and we're talking about things you can't even recall happening.
Because
I watched it at like 10:30 this morning. It's 2:40.
It's already you've already lost 50% of it.
And it's only
Yeah.
because I have notes.
Yep.
And
That's
that's
it. That's the show.
Well, Courtney, thank you for joining us again. It's always good to have you back.
It was fun.
Cutting edge, though, am I right?
I'm telling you though, next time I want to do a pilot and a second episode.
Okay.
All right, we'll keep that in mind. No more mid-season.
Please.
You were lost amongst all the canon that was happening.
Exactly. All that established storytelling.
And listener, if you want to get a hold of us, you can email us at continuumdrag@gmail.com. And on Instagram and Twitter, we'll have some clips from this show. A leg getting cut off. Bloody leg for sure.
Yeah, I guess the chicken cube.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tardigrade necklace. Is that a thing?
Maybe. It's hard to say. There's not a lot to pull from, but we'll find
Yeah.
something.
It would be an image.
Maybe when it's revealed that Art can like kind of extend himself to be slightly taller than he currently is, the robot.
Oh, yeah, that was a joke.
Was that a joke?
Yeah.
It's always a good part of the show. Is like you have to ask, like, was that a joke? But they just like stop, like they do it, and they're like, well, it never comes back. And you're like, oh, I guess it was. I guess.
You know what someone should do, not to extend this any longer? Someone should add a laugh track on this so we know where the jokes are.
Honestly, this show could have benefited.
Yeah.
I think it could.
It's one of the few shows that would have benefited from a laugh track.
But that's it. That's it for the episode. So, listener, thank you for joining us, and Jordan, I'll see you next week.
See you then.
Continuum Drag is recorded in Toronto, Ontario. Theme music by James Rex Seidler. Produced by Jordan Dullock and Luke Black. Special thanks to Aaron Hughes.